Welcome. Welcome to all of you. Thank you so much for showing up on time and ready to go for day 3 of how's your social media working for you, improving your online presence. So today we're going to be looking at this through the lens of Twitter. Monday we looked at websites and blogs, yesterday was Facebook, and today we're talking Twitter, tomorrow LinkedIn, and Tacey has volunteered her LinkedIn account. We can probably handle a couple of different LinkedIn accounts for a review, so if anybody else wants to be on that list, just hit me up. Let me know via email or via chat. Tacey's in job search mode, so I think that would be kind of cool to look at one that's from a job seeker and maybe somebody that's trying to attract business partners, or not necessarily in job search mode. So to look at it through a couple different lenses I think might be instructive. All right. Well, again, we're going to be talking Twitter today, so we're going to start out with Charlotte. She only just now, within the last 24 hours, discovered how to get into her Twitter account. So we're not going to hold her responsible for not tweeting since last March. That's okay. You're in. You've got control of it now, so that's great. She says that some Notre Dame students created it for her. So that's great. That is just, one cautionary tale, though, is instead of just turning over the reins to an intern and just giving them complete control, make sure that you've got access to the, to the account that is connected to the Twitter account. Okay, it basically needs to have an email account associated with it, and there can be only one with Twitter. So just, a few ways that Twitter is similar or different than other programs that we've talked about. Again, it's just one email. There are no real admins that have access like you can do for a Facebook page. So that email account is really important. And I would say if you are the website owner, you're the business owner, you might want to make sure that the email associated with the account is your own domain. And what I mean by that is, let me just click on my profile here, and I'm going to go to settings. And I actually have it associated with my Yahoo account, just because, I don't know, that's what I had when I first started it out. And so if you get notifications and things like that, I don't really particularly feel that I need to see them. I use my Gmail more for day-to-day. But this is an account that I have access to. If I need it, it's no problem. I can get in there. But what I'm saying, though, if you've got interns or you've got students or you've got employees that are working on your account, you might want to make it, Kathy@mysocialmediacoach.com, whatever domain email account, so that you could access it through your website host. Ultimately, it's an email account that you control versus if it's an intern that set it up through their own Yahoo or their own Gmail or Hotmail or whatever, just any account that you ultimately don't have control over. That's where it could be dangerous, and you could potentially not be able to access your account. So if they used your own email, Charlotte's saying pwinsfarm@gmail.com, that's fine. It's just that you need to know what is that account and ultimately have control over it. The only problem, once again, is if it's somebody else's account and you don't know the password, you can't reset it. And I'll just show you. I mean, I'm kind of on the other end of it sometimes. I set up an account for Sustainable Indiana 2016, and I'm no longer doing their stuff. So just yesterday, I got a request, to reset the password, and I can tell you with, pretty assuredly, they probably have a new person trying to get into it. They didn't know. They didn't call me, or I would have been happy to, release it. So I basically just forwarded this email to them to let them take care of resetting it. But that's what will happen if your intern has control of it. They're the one that is going to get this reminder. If it's an email that you control, once again, you ought to be able to get into that email with the help of your host account. So enough about that, but it is kind of important. Ultimately, if you don't have control over your Twitter account, it kind of negates a lot of these benefits that we're going to be delving into. All right. So if anybody's got specific questions as we go, again, please just feel free to type them in the chat area, and we'll kind of incorporate them. Welcome Kobe as well. I see that Kobe joined us. And Lisa's saying that Twitter is cool and that it brings you so close to so many people. A magazine editor started following her when she started her Twitter account, and within a few months invited her to write an essay for the magazine because of her interest areas. That was when she was actively tweeting and exploring it. Don't be afraid to tweet to anyone. That is so absolutely true. And I think that Twitter, more than probably any other of the social media sites, does allow for that real interactivity at a casual level. I've said it before, but following somebody on Twitter does not equate to an endorsement. You don't have to really go out on a limb and ask them to be your friend. Like on Facebook, it's a little bit friendlier language. It's just following. Following can mean I follow the news, I follow baseball, I follow whatever. It's just you're following a topic, you're going to follow a person. And Anne-Marie's asking, what do you think about multiple Twitter accounts to express different parts of you? And it's almost like, Lisa, I don't know if she was responding to Anne-Marie or to me, but she said just be mindful about it. And that's whether, Lisa's talking about my verbally expressed thing that I just said or Anne-Marie's. I think the answer is still the same. It's be mindful about it. If you've got a reason, that you want to do two different accounts, let's just go to Anne-Marie's real quick and take a look at it. She's got Mighty Mirth, and then she's got Marty Mirth, which is her own last name. So Mighty Mirth is her little cartoon character, and as far as I can say, if you want to use it to express highly different types of things, then that's fine. Just it's more work, so that's fine. I myself do have several Twitter accounts. I'm Kathy Sipple is the one that I use the most. But then I've got one that's 219 Green Connect, where I'm only talking about environmental and local, stuff for Northwest Indiana. So, if you've got a reason to do it, that's absolutely fine. Let me go ahead and I'm going to add you to my lists. What I did real quick here too, I just want to point this feature out, is creating lists. Really helpful way to kind of keep track of the people that you know and follow on Twitter, because sometimes they're not using their real name. You might forget, oh, this is Anne-Marie, this is her brand. If they don't have their real picture, sometimes it is easy to forget that somebody's tweeting as a different alias. Or just if you want to kind of connect with a group of people or keep track of their tweets, in a certain way, putting them on a list is, I think, a helpful thing. So again, to do that, you just go to the account that you want to include on that list. You click on the little gear icon, click on Add or Remove from Lists, and I had already created one called Social Lights. If I hadn't, I could just go down here and do Create a List at the bottom, and I can then put people on it. I'm going to make this a public list. And the way that you can tell that, once again, is by not having a little padlock next to it. If it's a padlock, that means these are for my eyes only. For whatever reason, I've decided to make it, just private. If it's maybe a lead, somebody that I want to follow up on, I don't want to make it look like predatory, that, hey, I think they need my, my help. Or subscription coaches. When I was working out, how do I want to model what I'm offering? I was kind of trying to evaluate some people that may or may not be competition, but I just didn't really feel like they needed to know they were under the microscope. Helpful for me, but not necessarily something I wanted to curate, for the public. If it is something that you feel has value for the public, then I'd say in most cases just go ahead and make it a public list, because people are going to feel flattered to be on it. There might be some value in it, and anyway, so that's that. Okay, and then Lisa did confirm that she meant when you reach out to people, be mindful. And I'd say, again, good advice for both. And then let's go to Marty Mirth and take a look at that. Okay. And I think I already put you on my list here. I did. And you could probably go on other lists, but for right now, I'm going to go ahead and do that. Now, the first thing I'm seeing is, okay, bio. This is probably one of the most important things that you're going to need to work on for Twitter, is your bio. On an individual tweet, you get 140 characters, which basically is defined by the length of a text message. That's kind of how they came up with that length, because Twitter is or was, primarily designed for people who are on the go and using mobile devices to interact with it. You don't have to do that. You can do it from a computer, just like I'm doing right now. You can do it from a laptop, a tablet, but a lot of other people, are going to be doing it on the fly. So the text message, 140 characters. The bio is 160. And so the first thing I'm seeing here is I just don't see anything that's a bio for Anne-Marie Marti. So if I didn't know Anne-Marie, I wouldn't probably be inclined to follow her, just because there's no kind of information that I'm seeing that tells me, what she's about, what kinds of things she's going to do. She does have a link to her website, so if I wanted to click on that and take the time to find out what that website was about, great, then that might be interesting. I kind of get an idea just from seeing, the flower that, hey, looks like maybe she's into nature. But if I didn't know her at all, again, I probably might not follow her, just because, the last tweet was September 22nd. It doesn't really look like a real active account. Maybe if I just liked flowers, or I remembered her name, I remembered meeting her, right away, then I would follow her. But the biggest thing is you gotta have something that grabs people in the moment and makes them see why they should follow you versus other requests or other people that are following them. And I am following Anne-Marie. The way that you can tell that is the blue following button is already activated. If I were not following her, then it would look like this. It would look like white, and it would be inviting me to follow. Okay, so Anne-Marie is asking, so we can look at other people's lists, but if I went to your list, I would not see the ones you have locked. That's correct. We can see each other's lists if they make them public. That is right. Okay, cool. And let's just go on here. So back to Anne-Marie's question, yeah, there's a reason to do it, but I'm thinking that because you haven't tweeted as yourself since September, I would say it's probably better to have one well-run account than divide your time and not really be tweeting on, on either one, okay? But here, I like that you've got your little bio, whimsical, meaningful, spiritual cartoons on cards, t-shirts, toys for all ages, and she's got, little geographic, not very specific geographic, but water belt, rust belt, Midwest, To me, that's kind of more engaging, let's put it that way. And she's just got tweets, it just looks like it's more actively developed, although still no tweets since last August. So I would say just consistency, if you want to be taken seriously on Twitter, and I'll take my heat for this too. I kind of go on and off of it, frankly. When I was really in growth mode and my intention was to grow my Twitter following and really to use it actively, it was growing actively. And, when I kind of turned away from it, people just, they forget about you. There's no real reason to follow somebody if they're not tweeting fairly actively. One other little thing about followers versus following, if you can keep it as close to one-to-one as possible, that's a good idea. And what I mean by that is not to try to follow hundreds or thousands of people, all at once. Twitter will actually block you and prevent you from following that many people. They just don't want people to come on Twitter and be kind of predatory, follow a ton of people. They want to let it organically catch up. So if they don't see anybody following an account back, they're probably going to put the halt on you and just put on the brakes until those numbers catch up. So that's, again, why it's good to be engaging. It's good to be interesting, because trying to get people to follow you back, you need to do all the things that we've already talked about. Okay, so let's try some other questions. Lisa's asking, she says, I tend to follow way too many people in far too many areas to keep up within the time I'm currently spending on Twitter, but I want to follow several topic areas. I think that's fine. It's your account and there's no right or wrong. It's just whatever you want to use it for, but just know that you're going to hit some Twitter limits. Let's see, I'm going to just kind of show some tools that you might want to utilize as we go. Friend or follow is one that I kind of use for maintenance every now and then. And what I mean by that is, when you get into hundreds or thousands of people that you're following, it can get a little cumbersome to try to remember, hey, have I followed back the people that I want to? Hopefully I can remember my password. There we go. So what you can do with friendorfollow.com is connect it to your Twitter account, and this might take a few minutes. Oh, that's pretty fast. Okay. So it says Kathy Sipple is following these almost 1,500 accounts, but they're not following Kathy Sipple back. If I was, at a Twitter limit, and I was trying to kind of follow somebody that I really wanted to follow, I basically would need to make room by deleting somebody else. Okay? So if you don't want to be the one that gets deleted, the things that would probably make me get rid of somebody would be, number one, if it's not a reciprocal arrangement, that they haven't done me the courtesy of following me back. So, I would say check your followers periodically. Like, you get notified about new followers. You can get notified given the settings that you wish, and that you tell Twitter, how you'd like to be notified. If you really want to know by email, you can make it that important. I don't tend to think it's quite that important. If you're on there, a time or two a week and you do this kind of maintenance, I think that's probably fine. But basically, you get notifications and you'll see who favorited your tweet, who's following you. Again, here's just who's following you, favorited tweet, da-da-da-da-da. Okay, so what I try to do is when somebody favorites my tweet, or if they, are a new follower, I'll kind of hover over that account. This one to me looks a little bit spammy. This looks like, somebody that's just selling some kind of software for automated Twitter followers, and frankly, I'm not a fan of that method. I don't think it's, it's really what Twitter's about. I think earned followers are the most important thing. So I would just not follow that one back. I mean, number one, it's not original. They're not going to be really saying anything probably of interest to me, and I don't basically agree with the whole premise of what their account is about. All right, so that's a no. I wouldn't follow them. Sumi's News, Chinese herbalist, digital photography success. It doesn't look bad, but I'm not compelled to just follow something that's strictly news. So that one's going to be a no, too. This person, connecting leaders, Asia, business owner, the first thing I see is it's a real person with a picture of their face. I like that. They've got, a website that I can click here and find out more about them. KPI, I think that's key performance indicators, possibly. I'm not sure. I'm okay with sports. I'm okay with fitness. It's, some of these things are of interest, some of them not. But really the compelling thing is, real picture, real website. They're in Singapore. Never been to Singapore. Interesting. And they've got 30,000 followers, So just that they followed me and they're only following about half the people that follow them, I found that kind of flattering, so I followed them back, okay? So these are kind of the snap judgments that we're making, fortunately or unfortunately, about who to follow. And because you can't just follow everybody, that you want to, you do have to apply some kind of standards and make some decisions. So fair or unfair, it's probably just good to know, what other people might be doing. I'm not saying that, other people are going to do it exactly like I do. But okay, here's one this person is following 1,600 people and have only 500 followers. So they're following 3 times plus as many people as following them. There's absolutely no bio. I don't recognize the name. There's no real face here. It's, kind of like a ghoulish, cartoon thing. I just don't know. It's not that compelling for me. When I click on full profile, this is just not resonating for me. If you really liked bunny tails or you like something, then great, maybe you would follow that person. But that would be a no for me too. So Jay Moreland, okay, he's a speaker and educator in investor behavior for additional information, tools, or request to talk. Emotional investing, I don't know. It's not, again, my total top area of interest, but it looks like he's a speaker. He's got his real picture, and he's got a website. He's in St. Paul, so I followed him. He doesn't have a lot of followers, but sometimes I try to intuit why somebody might want to connect with me. I mean, it looks like he's a motivated guy to learn speaking, and maybe he's just getting started if he's only at 200 followers. So I'm thinking maybe he's following me because he wants to hire me to help him with social media. Who knows? But basically, I'm just a little bit discerning. It's not that you have to have thousands of followers. You have to do each and every one of these things. But I just try to sort it out in a moment, looking again at follower versus following ratio. Are they tweeting? Are they active on Twitter? This guy tweeted just like a minute ago. That's what 1M means, 12 minutes ago. It's almost like maybe too much tweeting, but Twitter you can get away with much more activity than you can on LinkedIn, on Facebook, or pretty much almost any other place I can think of. The other thing that I see here is that he's not just saying, come to my webinar, here's a great blog post I wrote. He's responding to somebody else and saying thank you for the mention. So he's polite, and he's addressing somebody directly. That's what it means when you see the @ symbol in front of a Twitter handle. This means he's talking directly to this person. This is not just a broadcast tweet. This is directed at this person specifically, but in a public way. And, improve your public speaking skills. He's got a link here. He's putting pictures in his tweet. I can look at the details of that. So, yeah, I mean, it looks like he's really just trying to get out there with the public speaking. That's fine. That's fine. It's, kind of interesting. So Charlotte's asking, do you have to ask to follow? Do you make these requests too, or do people just request you? Okay, well, let's break it down again. I think we can best learn this by just simply going through the exercise. And if we take the exercise that I just completed and keep your question in mind, let's look at how that worked. These people that I had let's go to these new set of people. Ariel, Hyatt, and 6 others followed me. Okay, they didn't ask to follow me. The only way that they would have to ask to follow me would be if I were to, in the settings area, make my tweets private. I can make my entire account private. As a marketer, typically, I would not recommend that that's what you do, because the whole point is, to be known. But if you had maybe a circle of friends or family members and you just all wanted to tweet to one another and use it almost as like an intranet, then you could do tweet privacy, protect my tweets, and then only make those tweets available to a certain select group of people. Okay? So again, you would do that in settings. Everybody on this call, since we're here for the purposes of marketing and networking, I wouldn't think anybody here would need to do that or want to do the tweet privacy. So that's the only exception where somebody would need to ask you for permission to follow you. And in that case, that Twitter user's account would appear as locked. And so to follow them, you would say request, a connection, and then that would have to be granted. But I would say, again, 99% of the time, that's not going to happen. All right, so Ariel Hyatt, let's look at this. I have been notified that these people follow me, so I would do the same thing. I would click on her profile, and frankly, I don't remember if I followed her first or if she followed me first. I'm now following her, so I had made the decision to go ahead and follow her back if I hadn't already. But either party can initiate the follow. And following people proactively, I think, is a great way to just give a little nudge and let people know in kind of a subtle way that, hey, I think you're interesting. That's all it really means, is that of all the, many, many hundreds of thousands or however many people there are on Twitter, somehow I found your account and thought you were interesting. So if I weren't already following her, I would just click that follow button to do so. Since her tweets are not private, I don't have to ask permission. I don't have to ask to follow. Either party can initiate. So hopefully that makes sense. If that doesn't make sense, please let me know. And Lisa has asked, do lists help with kind of curating following several different topics? Yes, absolutely. List, let's just see how Ariel here is using her list. She's got, crowdfunding, Mashable Media Summit 14, so probably she attended this summit, I imagine, and is trying to keep track of the people that she made contact with from that real life event. PR peeps, so these could be colleagues or, who knows, NOLA in my soul, New Orleans, Louisiana. So maybe just people that tweet about New Orleans, festivals, TED Talkers, gods of content marketing. So they're kind of around, certain things, but some of them are geographic, some of them are leadership, some of them are food. So I'd say she's doing a good job. I just picked her kind of randomly, but since she had, quite a few lists, yeah, I think that's definitely a good way to help you, remember why the heck you wanted to connect with people to begin with. The other thing is Hootsuite. We've talked about Hootsuite a little bit separately, and mentioned friendorfollow.com. I'm going to mention Hootsuite real quick. There are a number of different things that you can kind of add or layer onto your Twitter experience, and that kind of make Twitter a little bit easier to make sense of, let's say. They're not necessary. It's not necessary to use anything else at all. But if you want to, hopefully I can remember my password. This is like the bane of my existence, is these passwords. All right, if I can't, I can't. No big deal. All right, I don't remember right off the top of my head. But in any case, what I wanted to point out about Hootsuite is that you can actually follow hashtags. You can follow certain people on your lists. You can follow, all manner of people, and they show up just as different streams. So I wish I could just see a picture. Oh well, that's okay. Excuse me, just one moment. Sorry about that. Oh, I could feel a sneeze coming. I didn't want to blow you guys away through my headset. Okay, so Charlotte's asking, is it polite to use other people's lists to tweet an issue? Okay, well let's kind of break that down for a minute. Let's say that I did want to tweet to the people on this list that she has compiled called crowdfunding, and I think crowdfunding is super interesting. So you know what? I'm going to go ahead and subscribe. So there are two people subscribing now to this list. I believe one is probably her, one is me. When you subscribe to somebody else's list, it's not like you're following them. You just see their tweets show up in your news stream. So Lisa, I would say this is another little nuance that I would add on to how lists might help you do that, is if you feel like you're following too many people, you might want to try just subscribing to lists that others have curated, and then that doesn't really show up in your overall numbers, but you can still get access to the information, okay? So what I can do, basically, is I could decide to follow the various people that are members of this list, and it's pretty easy for me to do because they all show up right here. Crowdfunding news, da-da-da-da-da. But really, they're not people, they're just like aggregators or company sites. So I already know about Kickstarter, I already know about Indiegogo, I kind of know about most of these. I don't feel compelled to follow. There is no way, at least no way that I know of, to simply tweet to everybody on this list at once. What I would have to do would be to kind of individually, message this person, then message the next person, message the next person. The list is not, it's not like an email list where you can say send to all, or at least, I'm just going to admit I don't know how to do that. Maybe some hacker has figured out a way to do that. But there would be nothing stopping you from just simply clicking on crowdfunding news, and I could either follow them, not follow them. You can tweet to anybody without following them, by the way. All you need to know is their Twitter handle. So this is what it would actually take for me, Charlotte, to do what you're asking. I would have to collect their, their Twitter handle. I would go up to tweet. I could put their, their Twitter handle right here and say, hey, what do you think about, this crowdfunding campaign or whatever. I would use that, that connection judiciously. You want to, you just want to make sure that you're starting up a good conversation. I really think that Twitter is most like a cocktail party. Would somebody be receptive to your question, at a cocktail party? When you've got all kinds of other conversations going on, you've got to be kind of compelling. It's not a great time to say, hey, you owe me this, come give me a moment of your time. Just kind of think about what's in it for them, what part of the conversation can you share. This seems to be a recurring theme that we keep coming back to, but it's just looking for your areas of overlap. Certainly if you ever want to give somebody a compliment, or you can say, do you see this as being a trend? Okay, so for environmental action purposes. Okay, well let's try something a little bit more specific for that. And Anne-Marie is talking about hashtags, and we're definitely going to get way into hashtags. So hang on there. You're not asking too many questions. And then Anne-Marie also said she missed how to follow somebody else's list. So let me quickly go through that again. And I want to remind you, I will be processing video, so you can go back and watch any part of this if you'd like. But basically, you just go to anybody that has lists, okay? And here's just somebody I picked a little bit randomly, Ariel Hyatt. She's a relatively new follower. We're relatively new following one another. And I just clicked on her list. She's got 111. You can kind of scroll down, see which list she's got here. TED Talk, sure. I love TED Talks. I'll go ahead there. And then subscribe. Subscribe is how you follow somebody else's list. Okay? So think about, what list you might curate. Charlotte, if you're, a sustainable farmer, and you are, you could do something like Michiana Sustainable Farmers, or Local Food Web, Michiana, something like that. And then when you describe, why are you curating this list, you kind of basically are elevating them along with you. So it's not like being a broadcaster exactly. You're trying to kind of say, hey, here's a helpful collection of resources, and I've already done the scouring, I've already done the the curating. Because I'll say, Twitter, that's probably the most off-putting thing for a new person, is just how the heck do I find anybody? How the heck do I discover something that makes Twitter an interesting experience for me? And so Charlotte's asking about keywords. Yes, absolutely. You can also go to the Discover tab, and you can look at activities. If you're interested in certain types of activities, you can put in or wait, sorry, skip that. Let's go who to follow. Follow more people from the suggestions below, tailored just for you. So how they get to be tailored just for me, I'm sure Twitter's got some kind of little thing that they run, an algorithm based on who else I'm already following, probably who else is paying for it. If somebody's a promoted Twitter account user, they're probably a lot more likely to show up here than somebody that's just the little guy, right? So, but NERPC, yeah, you know what? That's my local regional planning commission. I actually just talked to them yesterday. We're talking about working together, and I should be following them. So that one is actually a good, that's a good suggestion. And they probably determine that by just looking at, mutual following. All right. Eco Interactive, Eco Preservation Society, inspiring action, empowering people, connecting communities. I love that because I actually love that, and I also love that because it might help us with your question, Charlotte. So I'm going to go ahead and follow them. I'll go ahead and click there. And it looks like they're a strong account. I mean, they're following 106,000 people. They've got 205,000 people that follow them. So that's pretty awesome. Let's go here. All right, they've got 13 lists. So, 13 list, Eco Preservation Society, RTR, not sure what that is, Founders Club. Usually, it's nice if you are doing the curation for the benefit of others to add a little descriptive text to let other people know, what that means to you. Influencers, that's kind of interesting. I'm kind of thinking that might means environmental influencers. So sometimes just by finding the first person, tribes eco-friendly, so these are Twitter tribes, that might be a good one for you to check out. Subscribe to their list. I'll go ahead and do that too. I mean, I guess the important thing is just to get started somehow, Once you find the first account to follow, whether you do it through the Discovery tab here on Twitter and go with their suggestions, that can be helpful. If you're not a real seasoned account, I've been doing this for years, so I think Twitter's gotten an idea of what it is that I'm into. You might need to do a little bit more work up front to discover your first few, people that you want to follow, okay? So geographic hashtags can be real helpful for that. I know some people on this call are from the Michiana area or Northwest Indiana, and maybe not everybody. But let's go ahead and just try hashtag NW Indiana, okay? If you're a local business, like let's say you're a farmer and, probably 95% of the people who are going to work with you are going to come from, local, right? So then it would be really good for you to learn what are your local hashtags so that you can use that hashtag to search and find interesting people. But you can also append that hashtag to your tweets, to your own tweets, so that you show up in the stream. Does that make sense? Hopefully that kind of makes sense. I know several of you have been on past calls, and if you're hearing this for the second or third time, it might be really starting to sink in. If it's your first time, it can still sound pretty fuzzy. But there are a lot of different types of hashtags. Geographic is one of them. Lori Kegel, I just saw her yesterday actually in real life at the South Shore Clean Cities Luncheon. So she's a reporter. She's talking about, local stuff. Robert, also a reporter. Leanne, she writes for the paper and she's a coach. So reporters are definitely use the geographic stuff. This is the Lake County Public Library. They're on there a lot. Weather Service. But it's not just all news people. There's some just regular people that are talking about things of local import. Craft beer fans, such and such brewing company opens tomorrow in Griffith. I don't know. He might be with the paper, might not. Here's a realtor that's using it. AmeriClean, they clean carpets. They do like restoration cleanup. Anybody can use a hashtag at all, but it's just a good idea to learn how others are using it and adopt the same practices so that you kind of fit in. There is another resource I'll guide you to called hashtags.org. And the idea of it is that if somebody's developing a new hashtag, that you can kind of register your hashtag there, tell people what it's about, and therefore, build compliance, build awareness about your hashtag. But technically, to create a hashtag, all it takes is just to simply type a hashtag. When you do a tweet, I could do something crazy, like hashtag XVZ, a bunch of gibberish. And you know what? That's a hashtag. It's not a very effective hashtag because I'm the only one using it, and it means nothing. There's no oomph behind it. So the best reason to use a hashtag is to either get in on an existing conversation, that would be going on around a geography. NW Indiana is one. Michiana is another one. I don't have the goods on like everybody's geographic hashtag that's out there. but let's just try Michiana. Okay, so that's used pretty consistently too. And again, it's by companies, it's by regular people, it's kind of by, you know, a pretty wide smattering of people. So, you know, if you're in Michiana, that might be one you want to do. South Bend might be another. Saying goodbye to my husband again. He's leaving. And again, I'm on the phone. Okay, South Bend. Let's try South Bend and just see what comes of that. Okay, so it looks like South Bend is one too. You know, it's not necessarily like there's only one. Valpo, you know, is kind of a subset of NW Indiana. And I live in Valparaiso. There's fair usage around, you know, Valpo. So you just kind of need to figure out, like, how specific do you need to be. If you're talking about a concert that's going on in downtown Valpo, then maybe the hashtag Valpo is more meaningful than NW Indiana. If you're talking about something regionally, you know, it's a little nuanced. But playing with it, learning what those hashtags are, is the way to kind of get started. What I recommend when you're just starting out is to actually make a little cheat sheet for yourself. Keep it in a Google Doc. We talked about Google Docs yesterday. It's an online, you know, it's a document that you can keep in the cloud, and you can say hashtag ideas. So if I want to follow people that are interested in, and I am, co-housing, you might start out by just typing in the word or the phrase that you're interested in without the hashtag, and just see who's talking about that topic, and then kind of looking at the tweets, you know, in the flow, try to pick out, are there any hashtags that seem to be going on around that topic. So somebody's got hashtag co-housing. Okay, great. You know, it doesn't mean that it's being used yet. There is a clamor for co-housing from older people. Great. Okay. All right, there's a couple people using co-housing as a hashtag. What I was kind of hoping is that maybe I would discover what I call an event hashtag. And so if there was, like, let's say the co-housing, you know, annual conference was going to be happening in Colorado, you know, next month or the next couple months, every now and then you get lucky and you just see an event hashtag. All right, so a lot of savvy event marketers are starting to use event-oriented hashtags, which are intentionally obscure because they don't want that to get mixed up with any other hashtag. All right, so at the time when you register for an event, a savvy event organizer might assign a hashtag, let you know about that in you know, follow-up email after your registration, and then you can tweet, hey, just signed up for, you know, unfortunately, I don't have any real-life examples that I can use. But does anybody have a conference that's coming up? Because we could look and see if there is a hashtag, and I can demo this in real time with a real example. But so event hashtags, again, are intentionally obscure because it's meant to only identify people who are at a certain event, geography, and then there's just topical. Okay, so co-housing with a hashtag is going to show me a subset of the filter that I just put on there. When I didn't make co-housing a hashtag, I was just saying give me all the tweets that are about co-housing. When you put a hashtag in front of a word, it kind of elevates that word from all the others in your tweet and says, this is the main theme of my hashtag. Okay, so here's like a webinar and co-housing. So it's, you know, they're kind of trying to say the big key thing here, the big theme is that it's a webinar and it's about co-housing. They didn't, you know, make legal the hashtag, for instance, or they didn't make UK the hashtag because they didn't think that UK was the compelling thing. It's like they want to attract people to a webinar that's about co-housing. So hopefully that makes sense. Let me just pause and look at question. Anne-Marie asks, what is the best way to check in on what people are tweeting that you are following? Okay. I'm going to noodle on that for a minute. I don't know that there's one best way. There's a lot of ways, and I feel like I'm kind of showing you some of those ways. But let me think about that. And Charlotte's asking, so if you want to know about co-housing in northern Indiana, you enter co-housing and northwest Indiana. And man, would that be my dream that there would actually be something that would come up. Right now, I think there is no co-housing in Northwest Indiana, so that would probably be a subset of 0. But yeah, theoretically, that's what you would do to apply both filters. You would get only the results that show both. That's right. And so Charlotte also asks, if you want to create a new hashtag, is it sufficient to search it in the search bar? And if it doesn't have any results, then you can use it. You can use it regardless, but again, go back to why would you want to? The reason to use it is either to gain awareness from people that otherwise would not know about you, okay? And let's just go back to your Twitter account. Okay, Charlotte is saying, so to create, for example, Northwest Indiana co-housing. You know what, if I was like a developer and I was launching a co-housing project in Northwest Indiana, I still don't think I would do it, just because nobody's going to be looking for that yet. So I would probably use them separately. If I was developing something, I would then want, okay, so then she's got, okay, then farm camps in northern Indiana. All right, well, number one, let's see if northern Indiana is even a hashtag. Oh, typo. Yeah, I do want to really spend time on hashtags because I feel like it does give you the keys to the kingdom. I feel like I talk about this a lot, but it definitely seems to be one of the toughest concepts for people to really get. Okay, so here's Northwest Indiana that I've already told you about. You're not exactly Northwest Indiana. Here's Northern Indiana, spelled out, not a hashtag. INWX. Northern Indiana. All right. So I am not seeing in an instant that Northern Indiana is actually its hashtag. So we've got Indiana, Michigan. So I don't know that I would take up the charge and just make a hashtag for Northern Indiana. If you're trying to appeal to the people that are in your geographic area, I would layer on what's already being used. So for example, Michiana, I think, would be the most meaningful for you. So if you were to append the Michiana hashtag to your tweets, you would be found just as I'm finding, these tweets right here that have been tweeted in the last 9 hours, 23 hours, a couple days ago. All right, so if somebody doesn't yet know about your existence, you could show up as, a result in their aggregator, okay? And then back to Anne Marie's question about what's the best way to find the people that are using the hashtags that you care about. If I could remember how to get into my Hootsuite account, I would demo that for you. Let me try one more time. Kind of embarrassing that I can't remember my own password. All right, I can't, and I don't want to spend too much time on it. But Hootsuite would be one way, and again, you can kind of set up news feeds within your dashboard. Like Hootsuite basically is a dashboard that allows you to look at Twitter in multiple streams of text. So you could say, show me everything that socialites people are doing, everybody on that list. You could say, show me the Twitter stream that. Let me see if I could just find a screenshot or something. That's embarrassing. I should have had that open. Hootsuite screenshots. So if you've never used Hootsuite, I know this could probably just sound crazy, like what is she talking about? Streams, and here we go. But I think I can get around it. We'll just look at somebody else's screenshot, and it'll, I think, give you some idea. So this is what Twitter looks like when you're experiencing it through Hootsuite. It's going to look different depending on how you've got it set up. But basically, you can do what's called, you can add a social network, and so you can add up to 3 social networking accounts for free on the free Hootsuite account. And if you want to upgrade to the professional, you can have tons more than that, okay? And then you can say, show me a stream. So once you've added your social networks, you could say, show me my tweets that are my home feed, and this is just duplicating what you'd see on native Twitter. You know, if you were just signed on a regular computer going to twitter.com, you can say show me my sent tweets, show me mentions, show me my tweets retweeted. You can also set up a column that's show me Michiana. You know, you could show, Charlotte says Hootsuite now allows 20 for free. Wow, maybe I can downgrade my account. That's pretty generous. That's really great. Okay, so excuse me. You can do lists that you follow. You can really make this any way you want, and you can set up, as far as I know, endless streams. Now you're going to have to kind of scroll to see them all, but this is a way where you don't have to keep hitting, you know, search and actually doing that search over and over and over again. You could either do it for a keyword, you can do it for a hashtag, you can do it for anything. So I think that's a pretty cool cool way. Tracy's making me feel better. She says she doesn't know her Hootsuite password either. So yeah, I was just on not that long ago, but whenever I clear the cache and the history of the browser, it deletes it, and then I'm in trouble. So anyway, that might be helpful for you too, Lisa, just to kind of follow your different interests. If you wanted to follow, you know, like chefs, you wanted to follow wildcrafting, you wanted to follow, you know, writers, farmers, whatever. And Charlotte's saying you all need a My Social Media Coach intake form to store your passwords. She was able to get into her Twitter account or her website account because I had set up a little form that helped her manage that. Yeah, I should do that too, shouldn't I? That would be a good idea. All right. So, cool. That's good. All right. Hopefully that helps. Do you guys kind of get that? I know we're straying a little bit from Twitter, but I think that the things that you work on with Twitter are just as important, frankly, as Twitter itself, because Twitter can just seem like a cold and lonely place if you just don't know these tools of the trade, you know, to help you navigate. So anybody else want me to look at their Twitter account? Both Anne-Marie and Charlotte have volunteered, and you just didn't have any like real recent tweets, but I was hoping we could kind of get into you know, dissecting a tweet. All right, I'll throw myself out there. I'm not saying that I do everything, you know, great or perfectly, but I thought this was pretty interesting. I tweeted something a little bit crazier than what I normally do yesterday. Let me just find that. I announced it yesterday that I was birthing a brand next week, and I am inviting all of you to witness that. You know, they're kind of like what I call sloppy tweets that are just, hey, you just uploaded this video to YouTube. You want to also post it to Google Plus and Twitter. And it's kind of like a why not tweet. You know, it's lazy, and I think people on Twitter kind of know that it's lazy. I didn't optimize this at all. You know, I didn't add hashtags. Like, I'm not expecting much. It was just kind of a gimme, you know. So as I was doing the YouTube thing, I just got the Twitter as a bonus. Now, that doesn't tend to get a whole lot of engagement, but let's compare and contrast that with this one. I said, you know, witness the birth of a brand live next week. You can be an honorary godparent, you know, and then a shortened link, hashtag marketing, and then a little emoticon with a, you know, wink. In this one, 5 people favorited this tweet within like probably an hour after I tweeted it, and they're people that I don't think I was even connected. Okay, I just kind of favorited my own tweet. That might be a little egotistical, but I think partly it was the compelling you know, image, and then just kind of being playful and saying you can be an honorary godparent. Like, this got so much more engagement than just this, oh, let me tweet that too on YouTube. You know, people kind of get it, and they appreciate it when you're spending the time to craft something that's a little bit more fun, engaging, whatever. And thank you, Lisa. She just favorited my tweet, so that's kind of fun. But so how do you do that? What are the pieces that make this thing more interesting? Well, first is, you know, picture does tell 1,000 words, and although this technically has a picture, my mug and the video, it's just a screenshot. It's not, you know, there's nothing really compelling about it. Charlotte, I want to say I did give you a little shout out because you were kind of the key sponsor, and so I went ahead and gave you props on those 2 images. And Tracy, I'd be happy to make you the sponsor for the remaining days since you kind of stepped up and did some more coaching, which we've got to get that scheduled and worked on, okay? But so finding an image, which you can do on a couple different places. I think I got this one from a place called Royalty Free 123. There are many companies like this. 123 royalty free. I always kind of get that mixed up. But they've got royalty free stock photos. They're not free absolutely to use, but you don't have to pay every time you use them. You just pay a really low nominal fee one time, you download it, and then you can use it for whatever you want. So that's very, very affordable. You can stay out of trouble that way by not using somebody's proprietary information. I don't know that the internet police are really going to be able to track people down when they use an image just from Google search, but technically we're not really supposed to do that. So if you want to stay on the safe side of the law, I would say go to 123 royalty free. There are probably many other places where you can do it too, but if I'm in a hurry, this is kind of my go-to place, 123rf.com. So again, back to Twitter and why this was a successful tweet. I took the time to find an image. It goes with the text, witness the birth of a brand. Now, I will say some people just saw birth, and they saw live birth, and within, I'd say 15 minutes after I created that event on Facebook yesterday, I was invited to join a Facebook group called, Illinois Midwives or something. I'm like, I think there's been a mistake. I am not a real midwife. I am birthing a brand. But they somehow didn't quite get it. So it might be a little too, too fun or too off, but hey, you just got to try things periodically. I did get followed by an OBGYN doctor just today too, and again, I don't know if she read it all the way through, but I put hashtag marketing, not obstetrics, so I was really trying to kind of tie it together in the best way that I could in limited, limited space. And then, of course, we've got the good old bit.ly. This does hyperlink to an http:// but it just shows the the streamlined form of that, which is just bit.ly. And hopefully everybody knows that by now, but just a quick review, because we have talked about this a couple times, but since we've got some newcomers, bit.ly exists just solely to shorten links. So if you've got a real long link, to an event, to whatever, you can just take that long URL, paste it into bit.ly, and so for me, well, yeah, we don't really need to go there. For me, it was, I believe, my GoToMeeting or GoToWebinar link, and that's what I shortened. And I just decided to do that instead of going to Eventbrite and then changing over all the information, because it was one less step, and then people were registering themselves versus me having to do it. So I make changes periodically with my own stuff. So anyway, not important, but I just grabbed that URL from GoToWebinar, pasted it into bit.ly right here, clicked shorten, copied it, and then put that into my tweet. So I'd say that was pretty successful. I didn't add Northwest Indiana because it's not really a Northwest Indiana thing. It's a webinar. It could be anywhere. So maybe webinar would have been a good one. Maybe I shouldn't have spent this space being funny. Instead put, marketing webinar. But, I could probably get away with tweeting this again and just slightly revising it. I would use the same picture. I would use the same registration link. And then I might change the hashtag, or I could say hashtag Northwest Indiana, you're invited, to the birth of my brand, be a godparent or something like that. So Twitter, you can get away, I'd say, with more putting the same stuff out there again, just mix it up. I mean, you don't want to tweet the exact same thing over and over and over because that's boring, but Twitter, people don't tend to digest that in large chunks, okay? It's just, you're in, you're out of the stream, you see what you need to see. All right, so any other questions or any other people that want me to look at their account? Gosh, that time flew by. That went really, really fast. I just checked and it's already 1 minute to 8. So I feel like we were on for about 10 minutes. Time flies when you're having fun. Okay, and Michelle is asking how to reference past episodes, and that's a great question. I need to make that a little bit handy dandy for you. It's if you go to YouTube and search for Kathy Sipple for my playlist, you know, I'd say that's one way to do it. I have been sharing the links in the chat session, and I can do that again real quick. Charlotte, I did change from invasive species garlic mustard. So if you don't know what I mean by the chat area, please familiarize yourself with this, because I just sent you a link to this playlist, and to access it, you need to open your toolbar, usually located on the right-hand side of your screen. If you don't see that toolbar, click the red-orange arrow to open it, and then go to the area that says chat. You can copy that link and get it that way. Or otherwise, honestly, just Google Kathy Sipple YouTube, and you're going to find me too. I'm creating playlists for each of these. Charlotte, I have no idea what that flower is. That was one of the stock images that YouTube had. I need to create something a little fancier. But that's it. I think that's all we've got time for today. Okay, Charlotte's suggesting that maybe YouTube playlist could be a topic. Yeah, you know what? I got topics and topics and topics. I know Lisa was kind of interested in how to do a podcast. You know, some people have asked how to do a webinar. You know, how do I host my own webinar? YouTube could be a whole thing. So I got plenty of ideas, and I plan to keep showing up and taking requests. And, you know, as long as people care and you want to learn, I'll keep doing it. So we can definitely look at that. All right, well, thank all of you for being here. Go out, make it a great day. And show me your stuff. You know, if you like the stuff, share it with others. If you want to, you know, share this playlist, that's a great way to get the stuff out. Lisa's calling me the social media DJ, taking requests. I like that very much. That's my goal in life, is to be the DJ. So you guys can be my tribe. I'll spin the you know, whatever. Wax? Does anybody use wax anymore? Probably not. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording for the day, but thanks again. Really love being here with you guys and sharing this information and seeing what great things you do with it. It makes my day. Talk to you later.